Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is Sunday, February 18th, 2024. Thank you for joining us a bit earlier today. Usually it's 10 a.m. Eastern, but sometimes we have to adjust based on people's schedules. But thank you for joining us. We'll start, as we always do, by making aspirations, setting our intentions, saying the four immeasurables. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings not be separated from the happiness that has never known suffering. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment, anger, and aversion. So I'm going to read something that I found. I know most of you, if not all of you, are on Instagram. That's probably how you found this. So I've talked about this page, Pema Lotus. Our friend Shamel made this page, which is always great quotes. This is from His Eminence Gyalwang Drukpa, who has his own Instagram page. GYALWANGDRUKPA. Fear thrives in the absence of mutual understanding and diversity, and it is a poisonous weapon. But there is an antidote, compassion. Compassion combats fear. In my religion, we believe in karma. Many people misunderstand the concept of karma. Karma is not a predetermined destiny. Karma does not mean we accept injustice or inequality. Karma just means cause and effect. Karma means we are empowered to be part of the solution. Karma gives us a method to combat fear, terror, injustice, and equality. Karma means that we are not defined by our situation, but rather by the choices we make. As a believer in karma, I encourage the world to choose courage and compassion. Far too often we wait for leaders and governments to bring us peace, but think about it. It is individuals who build peace. And it's just something that I read today that I thought I would share. Karma is a very misunderstood concept, causes and conditions and cause and effect, it's a really long, complicated topic, and we're hoping maybe in the coming months we'll have somebody join us here who can really explain it in some detail. But in the meantime, check out Gyalwang Drukpa's Instagram and maybe some of his teachings and videos. And there's a good Zansa Khyentse Rinpoche, who we mention a lot in this class, and his name is on the Solidago Productions website, as is several of his books, as are several of his books there. He has on YouTube a good teaching on karma, if you're inclined to check it out. So Victoria is going to lead us in meditation today, and then we'll do some questions and see what happens.
So it's very important to start to be in touch with our subtle body, because the gross body is the kind of a conceptual construct of the I and the world that is built through this I, this conglomerate, circumstantial, preferential, perceived conglomerate that we build around ourselves, and we hold it very true. Usually at that gross level, we very rarely feel ourselves until huge emotions strike us, illness strikes us, you know, something really kind of strikes us at our heart. We spend a lot of time in that very gross conceptual dualistic construct, and we very rarely really feel and perceive our more subtle version of ourselves. Um, the energy that pulsates and courses through our bodies through the various channels, uh, the main three channels, left, white, right, red, and the central wisdom blue channel, which is the kind of like the pillar that supports our body and where wisdom energy abides, um, is the core of our awareness, is the core of the wind or the energy. The Tibetans call it the wind, and the mind, the awareness, is the rider, is the core of what supports our awareness. So becoming aware of our subtle energy, and it's called subtle body actually, or pranic body, subtle body, is something that's very, very important. And as we move away from that gross dualistic conceptual version of ourselves, it's very important to start to feel and perceive the subtle body. And that's also something we do in meditation. So let's start by clearing the three main channels, holding a Vajra fist on both hands. Let's start with one nostril and clear out on 3 breaths. We're going to clear out the desire from the red channel. We're going to clear the anger from the white channel, and we're going to clear the ignorance from our blue central channel. So first, inhale. And exhale anger from the white left channel. Sorry, white left channel. Leave anger and impatience behind. Inhale very, very deeply. Now again for the red channel. Hold at the navel and then clear out desire, addiction. Maintaining the fists in the Vajra position. Now through the both, inhaling through both nostrils. Holding for a moment and clearing out the central channel. One more. And on the last exhale of the central channel, we're going to exhale through our Brahma aperture. We're going to go all the way up with the exhale through the top of our head and merge awareness with all, and stay in that for a moment as a beginning of our meditation. So taking a very deep inhale, holding it at the navel for a moment, and then clearing out the central channel through top of our head, exhaling and merging with all. feeling the inner and outer space be one, collapsing the inner and outer differentiation. And from now on, inhale and exhale, feeling that the inner and outer are mixed, which in fact they are. Taking deep inhale, holding for a moment, exhaling through our central channel. Feeling on the exhale, awareness become extremely spacious, space-like awareness, merging with everything. Feeling awareness expand very, very, very far. Become limitless. From whatever thoughts or sounds that arise. On the exhale, we simply merge it all into the spacious awareness. Feeling your awareness from above, from below, from behind, from the front, touching and holding everything in a complete sheer openness. When we inhale, we feel our heart center. When we exhale, we feel the energy from our heart center reach to all things and hold everything. Inhale the white light. Hold, and then through your heart center, send it out to all beings and to holding all things. When exhaling, visualize a bowl of radiant white light on your central channel at your heart chakra. That's the seat of the mind. And when you're exhaling, reach out with your awareness to infinite places in the universe. Hold everything without any obstruction. Inhale white light. Feel it fill your body. And through your heart center, breathe it out to all things. Visualize your body as an empty container. and see it filled only with the energy of inhale and exhale. And that is how we reach with awareness to all things. And on the breath of your awareness, you can send out all kinds of positive things to infinite beings. If thoughts are coming up in a way that is uncontrollable, then this is a good time to use the four immeasurables that we say at the beginning of the class, and say on the breath out, may all beings have happiness. On the second breath, you say, may all beings be free from suffering. On the third breath, you say, may they all rest in equanimity, etc. So with each breath, you use the four immeasurables as the mantra going out to all sentient beings through the reaches of the universe. And you use the four immeasurables as the sending out of your positive energy to all beings. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Inhale white. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be without happiness, which is free from sorrow. May all beings rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Inhale white. May all beings be liberated now. Use your difficult people, difficult situations, and exhale pure white light into those situations and people, and ask that they have happiness, be free from suffering, and may they be liberated now. As you inhale, feel your empty vessel, your energetic vessel, become cleansed and purified. Become aware of the energy that is the wind, the energy, the horse of your awareness, free and unobstructed, and nurtured from the inhale, on each inhale. If you have pain or tension or difficulty in parts of your body, you bring that white energy on the inhale right into all those spots. And very important quality of meditation is to feel that inner and outer are one, that we're not contained inside a bubble and the outside is something other and foreign. In meditation is where we break that down on our exhale. Becoming aware that inhale is what nurtures us, becoming confident that on exhale we can send all kinds of positive things to all others. Becoming very aware of our central channel, where the wisdom energy dwells. We awaken inside it the wisdom energy, the compassion energy of our real being. Being aware of our Buddha nature is very, very simple. It is actually so simple that most of the time we don't trust it and we are unaware of it. But it's actually right there and is there all the time holding all things up. And the wisdom, that wisdom energy resides in our central channel. So when difficult situations arise, we take a breath, we connect to our central channel, and we can dismantle on the outer breath, we can dismantle that difficult situation. We can breathe air and space into that difficult situation. And from that vantage point, we can deal with it. We experience difficulties as very dense things. So on the exhale, we inhale the white, and through the heart center, we infuse that dense, difficult space with air and white light. And then we can deal with it and approach it when it's not choking us. So like that, that's how we meditate. And through that meditation, we can do Tonglen meditation, target specific difficult beings or just people we love who are going through difficult things, people in difficult situations, our obstructors, people with whom we have difficult karma. We use our energy to diffuse that density and stupidity, that solidity. We use our meditation on the spot, on the go, not on the cushion, but at all times to diffuse that situation. And I just wanted to say at the end of this practice that in Buddhism, we really only talk about 4 modalities: moving, sitting, sleeping, and eating. If we were to look at ants and look at their engagement, right? We would only see those four things. We would see these little beings in their movement. We would see these little beings as eating or sleeping, or for a moment standing still. Movement meaning, all the activities of building, of gathering, of doing all kinds of things. In the same way, we look at ourselves in our human engagement. There are only those four things that we do. We're not looking at ants and saying, oh, that ant is so important. It's going to its office. It's going to give commands to other ants and do this and this. It's going to buy another property. It's going to do this and this super important thing. Likewise, we view ourselves in that same way. In an ultimate sense, we're either still or moving or sleeping or, nurturing ourselves. We're eating. It's not to reduce and to diminish and annihilate all the importance of the things with which we engage, but there is a kind of a more ultimate way of looking at our activity, because ultimately everything that we deem so important today, tomorrow will become not important. Day after tomorrow will be forgotten. 3 days from then, or a year from then, will completely dissolve. That huge house, we will have moved away from it. That very important job, we'll forget about it and have something else. At the end of the day, all those relative engagements are really have to be seen in their relative importance and not as all consuming. So in meditation, and on the breath in and out, we connect to all things beyond the importance of the moment. And we understand that this important has a relative and an absolute side, and always connecting and engaging our energy, especially in difficult situations, bringing your mind back to its awareness, not being grabbed out of your body and being hooked and triggered by difficult people in difficult situations, not losing the ground, coming back always to the memory and reconnecting to our awareness is what we always engage and bring with us everywhere we are, especially in difficult places. By engaging our subtle energy, we will know when difficult situations arise. We have to become much more connected to the true energy of our existence, to the true energy of body, speech, and mind. And that's what we just did. We engaged that energy and trying never ever to be separated from that. That's, a very big part of what we call meditation.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you can use the toolbar, the Zoom toolbar on the bottom of the screen, and write in question. Um, Many people ask about um, teachers and books and resources, and we have that on the Solidago Productions website. And there's teachers and books. The teachers usually have their own website, and many of them have videos on YouTube. You can Google their name on YouTube. Not Google, search their name on YouTube. I guess Google too, that will come up with videos. One question people ask often is starting a meditation practice. They ask about, frequency and time and space and that kind of thing. Maybe you want to address that.
It's extremely beneficial to do a meditation to get up earlier than when your typical day starts. If your typical day starts at 7, brushing teeth, showering, etc., get up at 6, connect to your subtle energy, cleanse your, because at the time before your relative mind becomes awake and is already like creating a web of activity. I have to do this, I have to do this. It's like a web that connects to all these relative situations and objects in the world. So Wake up before that relative mind of engagement in the world starts to be so very activated. Wake up earlier when your energy is still more subtle and is contained, where you can do like a successful meditation practice. Start with 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can, build up. Obviously, you want to get to feeling a more subtle level of your energetic body. You want to connect to your subtle body, your three channels, your main central channel. Very, very, very important. So do it before you engage with the world. Morning practice is also where you set your intention. I'm not going to do this, but I will act in this way. I will keep my mindfulness. And it's an amazing thing. But when we set our intention in the morning like that, before we go out there and engage with our body, speech, and mind, as we call it, three doors in Buddhism, uh, mindfulness can really, really stay with us for the whole day. It's a very powerful thing to do it early in the morning. Needless to say, do it in the afternoon whenever you have time, and it's always really good to do it at nighttime. I'm not as diligent because often I'm too tired, but even just like a couple of breaths, you could do it sitting up in bed. Couple of breaths, because night is also like a big chunk of our life. It's a third of our life, and we can also engage in meditation practice in the night. We soon Kalu Rinpoche will be visiting New York, and he will be giving teachings on dream yoga. There is such a thing as night practice, dream yoga practices, but if you before bed even just sit down and kind of like purify, you look at your day and you say, I will do this differently tomorrow. I did not have to be harsh here. I did not have to do it in such a negative way. You kind of like clean house, you confess, and then you set your intention for the next day. Even before as you go to sleep, you say, I'm going to do this differently. And in the morning practice, you reinforce that. You say, I am going to do this in this way. I will communicate with this difficult person in this way today. And you hold to that. That's what meditation is. The regularity is holding your mind in place all the time. And very, very important to connect to that subtle energy and activate that. So that meditation is not just another conceptual time where we dream away and we spin off into all kinds of thoughts. Meditation should be this other engagement where we engage our more pristine level of awareness and the energy that goes with it, because awareness and energy go together. You know how when we have afflictive emotions, how much energy we are ready to blow up. That's energy. Emotions are energy. So bringing that energy, feeling that energy, becoming aware of that energy in our meditation practice for positive purposes, not waiting until we are hooked and ready to blow our energy up. Getting to know that energy.
People ask how much time they should, beginners, how much time they should do
20
it, where
minutes.
they should do it. 20. So I mean, I also think beginners, 20 can be daunting for people. Sometimes even starting with 5 minutes, I think,
You
can
know,
be good. If
you
you're
know,
really new and you find it's very challenging to find the discipline to do this, just it's more important to actually make the commitment, even if you can't do it for a long time. Like if you start getting into the habit, you'll probably naturally increase the amount of time. I wouldn't get hung up on the time though.
always start your meditation practice, any meditation session, with the four immeasurables. And always at the end of your practice, no matter how long it is, dedicate the merit for the welfare of all sentient beings. In the interim, do this visualization that we did today. And if thoughts are overwhelming, use the four immeasurables with which we start as the mantra, as the recitation. Let your energy be guided with that positive, the four positive mental states. Time is not so important, but it takes a certain amount of time to even just to get connected to our subtle energy. That's very, very important. Having regular sessions at a certain time and in a designated place in your house is very important, because even when your mind sees that cushion in front of a little table, make a little offering like a bowl of water, a flower. That's very, very important. Experience your generosity and your willingness to meditate by simply looking at your meditation place in your house. That already your mind will know. That's already also training the mind for meditation, having a place in your house that is set up particularly for meditation. Because the more you do it, when you come home from work and you're exhausted and you're going, no, I'm not going to meditate, but you see your cushion with a little prayer bowl, maybe with a picture of the Buddha and a flower on a little table, your mind will, by simply even seeing that, will start to want to get to that space intrinsically, and to repeat that internal process more and more frequently. But be regular, at least one session a day on a regular basis. Morning is best, but if you can't, then afternoon or evening. And two regular sessions, morning bigger session and another session before sleep, will also help your sleep, will help your everything, will aid in every way. Two regular sessions, or at least one regular session every day, is really the way to go. It has to be regular.
How important is posture?
Uh, Posture is very important because of the central channel. The reason why we actually sit in the 7-point Vairochana posture is exactly so that the channels can be unobstructed and the energy can move freely through them. The more you start to visualize your central channel, the posture will improve by itself. When you're visualizing your central channel, the pillar that holds everything up, you will automatically want to be have a very straight kind of back, not stiff, straight. There's a big difference. So connect more to the inner, to the central channel visualization, and feel the air flowing through that freely. Your posture will automatically settle into that space.
Do I have to be a Buddhist to use mala beads?
Well, what
No, but I mean, what are you using them for? I mean, it's
exactly?
usually whatever practice you use mala beads for is given to you by a teacher, you know. So either to count, if you're doing some kind of mantra recitation, and you're counting them, or for me, sometimes just having them in my hand, if I'm walking outside or something, or in a situation, just having them kind of somehow, because we're such creatures of habit. Having it in my hand sometimes just reminds me of practice, you know. And So you don't have to be, but um,
But
I mean, mala beads in itself are not anything special. I mean, we shouldn't get attached to them as confuse them with the practice. They're not holy. They're not. They're support, and they're just a almost like a reminder. For me. So they're not something to be. Sometimes we can get caught up in the trappings, the bells and whistles of Buddhism, the exoticism of it, you know, so even some of the cultural trappings of the different countries that are connected to it, and those are, they're all well and good, but they're not the practice. We should never confuse those things with the practice itself.
at the same time, mala, like other ritual objects, are there to enhance and go together with practice. Devoid of practice, they're meaningless, and so they kind of lose the reason for being there. If we're not using ritual objects in context of practice, their meaning is, diminished. So you have to ask yourself, what do I use it for? Remembering that the mala is really specifically designed to bring our awareness back to our meditation practice, and usually mantras mantra recitations are counted on it. If you want to use your mala and you're not a practicing Buddhist, you can use the four immeasurables, and that's really a universal humanitarian kind of a thing. You can recite the four immeasurables, and when you say, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, then you use the mala. That would be meaningful. Having it just as a decor object is kind of not meaningful.
Please talk about confession. You know, confession in the Buddhist terms, you know, is really about being aware of when you act from a place of, you know, selfishness, unawareness, you know, afflictive emotions and things like that, and becoming aware of the moments that we do that. So you could confess it to, you know, your teacher, you can confess it to the Buddha, you know, saying it out loud, you know, just acknowledging, you know, we're not talking about guilt and sin and things like that. We're talking about acknowledging that I did something that, you know, was a negative action, you know, came out of a selfish place, came out of afflictive emotion, recognizing that, because we need to recognize that before we can, you know, work on it and try to eliminate it and try not to do it the next time you're triggered in the same way. And then at the same time, you know, you acknowledge a remorse that, you know, you did this, you know, because every action has a reaction, and negative actions will have negative reactions. So we're remorseful that we blew up at somebody, we got really angry, you know, and weren't able to be, you know, more patient or more, you know, calm about it, and yelled or whatever you did, and then you're remorseful because that's not how you really feel you should be behaving, or maybe you hurt somebody. You can make an apology or make an amends, and then you make resolve not to do it again, you know. uh Even though you may, but in the moment, you know, you're recognizing the, you know, the negative quality of the action. That's something you want to, you know, eliminate from, you know, your life and your behavior. So there's nobody that's going to absolve you in Buddhism, really. You know what I mean? It's not like someone's going to come say your sins are all gone or something. And the concept of sin in Buddhism is it's not the same, maybe from more, you know, the other, like, other religions. So it's more about being honest with yourself and seeing, you know, your faults and moving on from them.
Yeah, it's just what Michael said. You know, confession is for a reset. You acknowledge something you did, you lost your control, you lost your awareness, you lost with the loss of awareness, you lose your kindness, your patience, your generosity, etc. So confession means you see it very clearly and you aspire through that seeing. You're not getting stuck there. You're not just gonna keep going on. I did this, I'm so bad. You know, it's not about getting stuck. It's the reset. It's the opposite. It's saying, okay, I did this. I aspire. I will make all the effort that I can. And I ask Buddha, as I ask my teacher, I vow to make an effort to not lose my patience, to not lose my kindness, to not lose my awareness. That's what confession serves for. Confession serves for a reset, to go back to the right conduct, to the virtuous, you know, body, speech, and mind activity. And that's what confession is for. It's definitely, it's an important tool. Just it's different. It's used differently. It's not to beat ourselves up, but it's to acknowledge, to really say, I really don't want that, and to, on the basis of that acknowledgement, to make an aspiration to behave differently.
Um, Sorry. Kala Rinpoche. The Kala Rinpoche may be coming to New York in April. It has not been officially announced, but he may be doing some teachings. Last time he was at Tibet House in New York. He may. We heard rumors that he might be doing Dream Yoga. When it hasn't been announced, so I'm not 100% sure when or if or what he'll be teaching. But I would go on Tibet House, sign up for their email list, We'll announce it here as well if we find out about it. But um, and usually those teachings are open to the public. You don't have to be his student officially or anything like that. So, but I would encourage you, if these do happen to go, uh, check out Tibet House website when those announcements come. If they do, it's not official and it hasn't been announced, but hopefully it will. Someone asked about New York places in New York classes. Go on to Tibet House has visiting lamas. We're not so aware of any ongoing teachings that are happening in New York, unfortunately. Being such a big city, you would think there'd be more, but Tibet House website is good because they have visiting lamas. And as far as books, again, Solidago Productions website, that's where you registered. And someone else asked a question about finding out about this class. I post it on Saturdays on Instagram about the class. But if somehow you don't see that, you can always check Solidago Productions website or the link in my bio on Instagram Saturday nights. And it's usually posted there. You know, there's weeks when we don't do this because of travel or because of work or things like that. But for most weeks, we do it on Sunday. I find it difficult meditating with tinnitus. Do you have any tips? I have tinnitus. Developed it about a year ago. And it was very, very scary and difficult when it first came on. And when I learned about it, that it's not particularly curable. But the thing about tinnitus is you can kind of habituate yourself to it. Well, basically, you have to reach a certain level of acceptance that it's there, and that it is there, and it's not really going to hurt you. It's really scary when it first comes on and you don't understand, and you realize there's no cure, and you're like, I've actually had nightmares the first couple of nights, very claustrophobic nightmares. It was kind of terrifying. And then I asked Garchen Rinpoche, and he basically said, he has tinnitus as well, and said he uses that sound as he's hearing mantra. So he gave me a specific mantra that I've practiced with him in the past. But if you're not connected to a teacher who's given you one, you can use the Chenrezig Avalokiteshvara mantra, the Om Mani Padme Hum. You can kind of imagine that sound is the mantra itself. If you haven't visited some of the websites that talk about tinnitus, and I forget exactly the word they use, it's like acclimation, or you're kind of accepting that it's there and just kind of getting used to it as a something that's just part of what you hear when you're aware of it, that it's not really going to hurt you. And once that happened to me, it kind of released it. I mean, the first period of time, a couple of nights or a week or something, it was really difficult. And then since then, and it's been a year now, it hasn't been a problem. When you're meditating, if it's really distracting, you can use the techniques that we work, like the visualization of the cloud dissolving back into the sky or going back to the breath. If it's, like as if it's like a car or horn outside or something like that. But I think it really helps because they don't really have a cure for tinnitus. There's certain things and supplements and diets and things that can kind of keep it at bay a little bit, lessen it. But it really helps to find some kind of level of acceptance with it. And then it's okay. I mean, when I started practicing what Garchen Rinpoche gave me, it actually deepened my own practice. So there was almost like a strange blessing connected to it, in a way. Anything you want to add?
No, what Michael said, if you relate to that sound as kind of the sound of reality, it can really help you actually, and can be used for your practice, as opposed to feeling like it interferes with your practice. You have to surrender to it. And think of it, it's the sound of reality, because that is the sound of reality for you. And if you can connect it to practice, it would be best, of course. And it does not have to interfere. Our obstacles are a part of our life. It's our karma, so we have to absorb them into our practice. To It could be actually very beneficial in many ways. Dealing with obstacles is you know that's our life, and bringing the obstacles on the path into our practice, that's an accomplishment.
Someone mentioned Shanti Deva Center in New York. I don't know that one, but maybe it's worth checking out. Uh, Hold on a second. I'm trying to get more emotional while meditating, but sometimes I can't harness any type of emotion. What practice would you recommend? Um, I'm not sure what you mean by trying to get emotional while meditating. I mean, I'm not sure if that's if that should be a goal or an expectation, you know, for meditation, you know. Um, Certainly in meditation, you're becoming aware of emotion as it comes up or what's there already, you know. But trying to get anything while meditating is probably not, maybe the best approach, you know. Um, I'm not really sure if you want to elaborate what you're trying to get at. Um, it's more about becoming aware of emotion and not letting it kind of sway you further into the story of the emotion or why it's there, or we're trying to settle the mind, which means settle the thoughts. And emotions and thoughts are really the same material. Emotions are more like when we talk about the meditating and the cloud that arise in the sky-like nature of your mind, and the cloud being a thought. Emotions almost like a storm cloud, or a storm itself. You know, it's still, you know, uh, arises in the mind, even though it can affect your body and your heart rate and your breath and all those things. But you know, it's the mind that's really causing that. Um, I don't know if you want to elaborate, you can.
I wonder if what you mean by that is you want to connect more to all sentient beings as your mother sentient beings. But that will arise naturally. The more vast and expanded your mind and awareness becomes, the more it goes away from simply being contained in the me bubble, the more it goes out to all sentient beings. That will arise naturally. The more there is a connectivity to others outside of the self, outside of that imprisonment, that bubble of conceptuality, dualistic grasping of the ego. The more you break the shell of the ego, the more connection to all sentient beings will happen. There will arise the energy of compassion with that connectivity, which is really wisdom energy, going beyond the bubble of the ego, breaking that shell, going out of it, connecting to all things, is using our wisdom energy, and that wisdom energy will have that kind of a compassionate aspect naturally. It's like the sun, it is bright and warm at the same time. The brightness is the wisdom aspect, the warmness is the compassion aspect. It's never devoid. One is always cohesive with the other. They're one and the same. They're not even really to be looked at in a dualistic way. But the more your mind can can kind of like get out of the little, shell and go out to all sentient beings, the more warmth, if I am correct in thinking that that's what you're looking for. We don't want to just elicit just emotions. We want to learn about our subtle body to know when emotions arise, how to hold them, how to structure them, how to use them when we're reacting through our body, speech, and mind doors, what to say, what to do, how to act. We want to know, because emotion is like somebody plugs into us, all this energy goes up, but before it spills out, we want to know how to control it. But perhaps what you're speaking about is connecting in meditation to all sentient beings and the warmth of what that connection means. But that'll arise naturally. You don't have to call on it. It's not, it doesn't have to be anything. It will arise naturally the more you connect.
The thought of death scares me and often haunts my thoughts. Have you dealt with this in your life, and have you found a way to overcome it? That's funny because I was going to start this class today talking about this, and I didn't, for whatever reason. But one of the major one of the major parts of the view in Buddhism, right, is impermanence. We're gonna die, no doubt. I would recommend, again, does Living is Dying, the book by Zonsa Khenze Rinpoche, and he says in that book, he says, if you're 50 and over, you should really think about death, that, and really be, give it your attention because it's coming. Listen, honestly, any of us might not see tomorrow, right? I mean, odds are we probably will. If you're young, if you're in your 20s and 30s, the odds are you're going to live longer than me, who's going to be 58, but not necessarily. We don't know that. But the reality is we're all going to die. It's the body that's impermanent, right? And it's this illusion of self that we've created that's been cobbled together in this lifetime that's impermanent. The mind is not. The mind will continue, consciousness will go on. So what we can really do is use that as a motivation to practice, because if it's our mind that continues, then the mind, and the Buddhists say the mind at the moment of death is really important. The state of your mind when you die is very important for, the time in between the next incarnation, according to Buddhist teachings. And then that's the bardo, which is that period of time between incarnations. It's like that energetic quality of mind will continue. So practicing now and working with our mind now and trying to let go to some of these afflictive emotions and moving beyond habitual patterns and be negative reactions, negative actions that we've been conditioned to doing and that we're habituated. Starting to work with that now is really important because we have to acknowledge that death is going to happen. Personally, it's something I've thought about more and more, not in a morbid sense, and not even a sense that, I'm getting old, even though that's the case, but in terms of just impermanence being, that's reality, and that truth that there's no guarantee that we will see tomorrow. There's no guarantee I'm going to make it to bed tonight, between now and then. We don't know. Existence is completely unpredictable. And we can choose to fear that, but fear the inevitable doesn't really give us anything. Or you can use that as a motivation, saying, because the time of death is uncertain, but definite, will be coming. What's important? You know, what should I be planning? It's certainly not, putting together a big, bank account, or, amassing more material things, or worrying about, you know, status and reputation and things like that, because that's all gonna, crumble away as when you pass away. So it's really what you can use that as motivation to work with your own mind, and apply these teachings and apply these practices, to get in touch with the Buddha nature, as Garchen Rinpoche said, which is this quote from Garchen Rinpoche is wound up becoming the foundation of this whole class that we do here together. Buddha is not the name of a man. Buddha is the name of mind. Really, that's really kind of the defining words of this class, and has motivated us to kind of come here every week. And if you take that as the truth, Buddha's the name of your mind, then that's what you want to work with, and that's, clear away all the debris to get at that Buddha nature.
Just what Michael said, using death, which is just reality of all cobbled together things like our bodies, things that arise, will fall apart. Knowing that is just the nature of all phenomena, including these bodies and these lives, things that we grasp and run after. So knowing impermanence, really understanding death, using it as motivation to have every moment become meaningful, making sure that our life is without residue, using that energy, using that awareness of impermanence, not as something that paralyzes and frightens us into, this, deeper self-grasping. There's nothing to grasp at. Mind, our awareness, our Buddha nature, the thing that actually powers this vessel, is nothing that was cobbled together or born, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to diminish. It'll take another rebirth if there's karmic residue. So knowing the sense of impermanence of this body, making sure that that awareness makes us do meaningful things every moment, so our lives are meaningful.
I mean, Victoria brought up dream yoga, which is it's not a topic that I know particularly much about at all. And some people wrote about interpreting dreams and remembering dreams. Um, Buddhism doesn't really put a lot of significance in that,
Yes.
interpreting dreams or remembering dreams. But, dream yoga in a Buddhist sense is more about the awareness that we cultivate here in meditation, that you try to bring into your daily life by engaging with others and with yourself in the world in a more mindful way. Um, if you find that starting to work into your dreams, right? Like where all of a sudden you become aware of your mind in the middle of a dream before you engage, say, in a negative action, that's kind of the area where dream yoga, I think, is, where it works. We can't offer instructions in that. I mean, I certainly can't, but there's a well-known Tibetan Buddhist teacher named, is his name
Tenzin
Tenzin
Wangyal
Wangyal
Rinpoche.
Rinpoche. Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, who is known for his teachings on dream yoga and has books about it. I think the Dalai Lama has a book about it as well. I would encourage you, if that interests you. But the dream itself and the interpretations of dreams and remembering dreams, that's not really what it's about.
Yes. I mean, most of the time, our dreams are just our karmic residue, whatever we haven't finished in terms of this kind of dualistic mental conceptual activity in our waking state, that'll often go into our dreaming period. But when we say dream yoga, we talk about practice. It's not fantasy, it's not karmic residue, it's not that kind of content. And very, very few dreams are considered to be meaningful. 99.9% of the dreams are just this karmic residue. It's almost like indigestion after a big meal. They're not really useful or looked at as very important. It's really about cultivating awareness during the different phases of sleep. And again, like Michael said, we really need qualified teachers to talk about those kinds of things. Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche does a lot of dream yoga teachings, and there's a great book that's old. I mean, I've had it probably for more than 20 years on dream yoga. It's very useful to read.
Again, books for beginners or books in general, go to the website, Solidago Productions. Someone asked, how can I get my teen to meditate? That's very difficult. And as parents, usually when you tell your kids to do something, especially teenagers, the last thing they want to do is listen to you. I guess, if the teen is interested, then, you can maybe find some teachings online that might appeal to your teenager. I always say, influence by example. Your teen may notice that when you do it, or that somehow seeing you do it inspires them, or maybe they notice an aspect of you kind of changing a little bit, or some new aspect of you that they can see, and that may inspire you. But it's really, um, it's not so easy, you know. I mean, certainly you can, if you're a Buddhist, and you have images of the Buddha around, just by default, the teen sees the image of the Buddha is always a positive thing, and can plant a certain seed, you know, or of maybe some of the other, some of the teachers, the great, masters or something, or have the books lying around the house, maybe here and there, might be helpful. I think we have time for one last question. I struggle with feeling the distinction between desire in the self-destructive sense and acting/feeling in necessary self-interest. Any insight on sorting through these feelings in the body?
Buddhism is something that emphasizes very much going beyond and outside of the shell of the ego in the self-serving sense. Needless to say, we have to be reasonable and protect the vessel, because this vessel is what carries our awareness in this life, in this moment, for this time. So we have to care for the vessel so that we can sit to meditation, we can act the right way, we can engage in compassionate and meaningful activity, etc. But it's not about fixating on the sense of what's good for me. It's rather just understanding that we maintain ourselves, we maintain our health, we maintain the balance so that the mind can function properly and cultivate itself, because the body's here, carrying the mind, this little house, that this little vehicle we have for this moment is all about cultivating our mind, so that in our next lifetime, we could start in a slightly, more developed, matured mental space. And hopefully through virtuous activity in this lifetime also be born into good circumstances where there is Dharma, where we can study and practice, where there's teachings, etc., etc. The body is not there for us just to cultivate gross appetites for substances, foods and drinks, etc., etc. What is the healthy thing for the body is to know that we eat to stay healthy, we drink to stay hydrated and healthy, as opposed to our food is consuming us, our drinking is killing us, etc. If we're maintaining our vessel for the mind to be happy and to deliver happiness to others, then we know we're good. if we use our body as this thing which is a magnet for every kind of affliction that becomes a disease onto us, and we keep satisfying that, needless to say, we are in completely wrong territory. And at that time, something that should be balanced has taken us to the side of being self-destructive. Then of course, we know that we need to end that because it's an affliction. And all the afflictions, of course, have their wisdom side. Desire is mirror like wisdom. I'm sorry, wisdom of discernment. Anger is mirror like wisdom, etc., etc. We can discuss that maybe next time, what the five afflictions, what the wisdom side of the five afflictions are. We're almost at the end right now, so maybe we'll make that for our next time. It's a very important, big topic. But just remembering that we maintain this vessel for the sake of the mind. We don't maintain this vessel as a pleasure ground to satisfy every kind of afflictive behavior, because ultimately the more we indulge, the faster we will wind up in the place of where the body is consuming and ravaging us, because the afflictions are so deeply connected to our body, and we've all experienced them. We all know that. So too much sleep, too much drink, too much food, too much sex, too much drugs, all these are the things that are killing us. So returning just back to the understanding of the body as the basis for the mind, as the carrier of the mind, is a very important thing. And the mind, it doesn't need caviar, it does not need expensive champagne, because real awareness understands that on the other end of the caviar, whether we eat caviar or we just have like a simple tortilla, it all comes out the same. What's important is just to maintain balance. And balance is being healthy, being not addicted, not being consumed by desires, understanding that our vessel must be maintained in good shape, form, so that we can practice and cultivate wisdom until the moment, the final moment when this vessel expires, which it will, of course. So, keeping ourselves in a way that is optimum to practice is what's important.
Okay, and just remember, in general, for all of us, and myself included, be patient. Be patient with yourself. This is a path. Just by hearing a new idea or trying meditation once or for a week, these are not quick fix, self-help, things. This is a path, and if you're a beginner, it's the beginning of a path. Be patient, be diligent, be consistent, and be gentle with yourself. But that's important to always remember. Let's dedicate the merit from today's session for the benefit of all beings by saying our dedication of merit prayer. By this merit, may all beings attain the state of enlightenment and conquer the enemies of faults and delusions. May they be liberated from this ocean of samsara and its pounding waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. And thank you to Nick Solidago, our producer.
Thank you,
Thank you all
everyone.
for your questions and for being here. See you.